He draws us near. Keep the Shabbat and instruction given long ago, assigned to his people that all should know. The Shabbat teaches rest for body and mind, made for man, a gift throughout time. There remains a Shabbat keeping still, follow his word, his way, his will. This day points to the eternal Shabbat rest, in his kingdom to come, only the meek are left. Each week the Shabbat returns on time. The day never changes. This is Yahweh's design. Written in the Torah as a command, a covenant mark between him and man. Yahweh is the Shabbat, our perfect rest. In his presence we find shalom and are refreshed. There remains a Shabbat keeping still, follow his word, his way, his will. This day points to the eternal Shabbat rest, in his kingdom to come, only the meek are left. Yahusha kept the Shabbat while on earth, showing its meaning, its true worth. He is the Adon of the Shabbat day. We follow him and rest in his way. Each Shabbat reminds us to pause and reflect on our Alula. He knows what is best. He still follow his word, his way, his will. This day points to the eternal Shabbat rest, in his kingdom to come, only the meek are left. In the beginning to ages ahead, the Shabbat remains just as Yahuwah has set aside forever for all to see. There remains a Shabbat keeping perpetually. Do not be conformed to this world's design, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Set your affection on what is above, not that of earth. Seek what is from Shamayim, eternal. Bring every thought into command, to the obedience of Mashiach, firmly stand. Let the word of Yahuwah in you richly dwell. Keep it with care and guard it well. Walk in the Ruach, overcome the flesh. For the carnal mind brings distress and death. The mind of the Ruach is life and shalom. Cast out wicked thoughts, don't let it consume. Meditate on Torah day and night. Do not turn aside, guard your mind. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, keep in sight. Guard your mind. Whatever is righteous, whatever is pure, hold tight. Guard your mind. Whatever is lovely, whatever is a good report and clean. Guard your mind. If there is any of rightness, if there's any praise, think on me. Guard your mind. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, keep in sight. Guard your mind. Whatever is righteous, whatever is pure, hold tight. Guard your mind. Whatever is lovely, whatever is a good report and clean. Guard your mind. If there is any uprightness, if there's any praise, think on me. Guard your mind. Be sober, be alert. Stay steady and aware. Your adversary prowls like a lion, beware. Watch and pray so that you do not. Hello and good evening. Thank you for joining me here at Real Bible Study. Shabbat
Shalom to you, now wherever you're watching this from. I want to thank the Most High Yahweh for the opportunity to be here with you this evening as we continue our reading of the apostle, the good news of Mattityahu. So before we jump in, I want to read two Psalms for you with the right perspective and the right understanding behind it. This is the book of Tehillim, or Psalms chapter 7, and it reads, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, in you I have taken refuge. Save me from all my pursuers and deliver me, lest they tear at my throat like a lion, rendering in pieces with no one to deliver. O Yahuwah, my Elohim, if I have done this, if there is unrighteousness in my hands, if I have done evil to him who is at peace with me, or have plundered my enemy without cause, let the enemy pursue me and overtake my being, and trample my life to the ground, and lay my esteem in the dust. Arise, O Yahuwah, in your displeasure, lift yourself up against the rage of my adversaries, and awake for me. You shall command judgment, and let the congregation of the peoples gather about you. And over them return on high. Yahuwah judges the peoples. Judge me, O Yahuwah, according to my righteousness, and according to my integrity within me. Please let the evil of the wrong be ended, and establish the righteous. For the righteous Elohim is a tear of hearts and kidneys. My shield is upon Elohim, who saves the upright in heart. Elohim is a righteous judge, and El is enraged every day. If one does not repent, he sharpens his sword. He bends his bow and takes it ready, and he has prepared for himself instruments of death. He makes his arrows hot for pursuers. See, he who is bound with wickedness and has conceived trouble and brought forth falsehood. He has made a pit of dung it out, and falls into the ditch he made. His trouble turns back upon his own head, and his wrongdoing comes down on the top of his head. I give thanks to Yahuwah according to his righteousness, and praise the name of Yahuwah Most High. Let's take a look at chapter 8. It reads, O Yahuwah, our Master, how excellent is your name in all the earth, you who set your splendor above the heavens. Out of the mouth of babes and infants you have founded strength because of your adversaries, to put an end to enemy and avenger. For I see your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars which you have established. What is man that you remember him, and the son of man that you visit him? Yet you have made him a little less than the Elohims, or angels, and you have crowned him with esteem and splendor. You made him to rule over the works of your hands. You have put all under his feet, all sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field, the birds of the heavens, and the fish of the sea, passing through the path of the sea. O Yahuwah, our Master, how excellent is your name in all the earth. So, wanted to stop right there and open with those two Psalms of David. Now, if you're reading the scriptures in a modernized or a translated version, you would see that the Creator's name is not there. So you typically would see this title, which could mean anything. The problem with titles is that the enemy actually uses that title as well. And the Creator made it very clear for those that are following him that his name is important, that we remember his name. This is why he gave a third commandment, which is, take not the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, your mighty one, in vain. Make it to naught. And this is the majority right here. So let me give you a few examples before we get into Matthew chapter 6 through 8. So Joshua's real name, Joshua son of Nun, the one who took over after the death of Moshe or Moses, Yahusha, which means Yahuwah is salvation. Now, one thing what you would find here, when you read these names, each prophet's name conveys a message or has a deep meaning. So they didn't just have names. The reason why they had these names is to identify who is their Elohim. So the prophets came in the name of Yahuwah. Just like the son came in his father's name, the father's name is in the son's name. So Isaiah, the prophet, his real name, Yashayahu, which means salvation is Yahuwah. Jeremiah's real name, Yeremiyahu, which means the restoration is Yahuwah. So if someone was to come to an Israelite and say, the God I'm speaking, coming to you in the name of the God of Israel, Yasharel, the next question would be, okay, what is his name? What is the Elohim of Israel? This prophet has to know the name. They didn't just say anything, like how people just generically use a term called God. So Zechariah's real name, Zechariahu, which means Yahuwah remembers, or the rememberer is Yahuwah. Nehemiah's real names, Nahamayahu, which means consoled by Yahuwah. Malachi's real name, Malachi Yahu, which means messenger of Yahuwah. Jonah's real name, Yonah, which means warmth is provided by Yahuwah. Obadiah, his real name, Abudayahu, which means the servant of Yahuwah. Samuel's, his real name, Shamuel, which means listen to Yahuwah, your Aloha, Almighty One. Yaakov, or Jacob's, his real name, Yaakov, which means Yahuwah succeeds. Daniel, his real name, Daniel, Yahuwah is my judge. Ezekiel's real name, Yezekiel, Yahuwah is my strength. And the list goes on and on. So because of this light here, we see where the prophets and the apostles, they had a specific name for a specific reason. And the book that we're about to dive in tonight is Mattityahu, which means the gift of Yahuwah. So to recap, we read chapters 1 through 5, I believe, last week, where we saw the genealogy of the Mashiach, Yahusha, and consequently what he went through as being tested by the enemy. We saw that the enemy tried to kill him while he was still a babe through the hands of Herod. It was unsuccessful. As the Mashiach grew older, he came into wisdom, he was baptized by Yehochanan, the immerser, which you would call John the Baptizer, John the Baptist. And as we look through, we saw that the Messiah spoke certain words that most people have not actually read or really focused on or understood or studied what he actually said. You see, there is a myth out there that we are all going in the same place. But you have to remember what is taking place here. In the world, there's wheat and there's tears. The problem is most people think that it's the same thing, but it's not. And this is what the Messiah spoke about. And when we get laid deeper into Mattityahu, this is one of the most important parables I believe the Mashiach actually told his disciples. And you have to be aware that not everyone coming under this title is coming with good intention. Some people are very sincere in their belief. However, being sincere and being in the truth is two different things. So everything is always at play. This one thing is always at play, which is deception. So what is deception? Deception or falsehood is an act or statement that misleads, hides the truth, or promotes a belief, concept, or idea that is not true. It is often done for personal gain or advantage. Deception can involve dissimulation, propaganda, and sleight of hand, as well as distraction, camouflage, or concealment. So this is how the enemy works. He deceives the whole world, and what the whole world has fallen for his game is by thinking that this is actually a name, but it's been a substitute in your scriptures. So many of you in the religion of Christianity, it doesn't matter what denomination you are in, you all use the same title, and you believe that that has importance, but it's not, because the enemy actually hides behind that title as well. So I want you to turn with me to chapter 6. Continue reading from chapter 6 of the Apostle, the Good News. So it starts like this: beware of doing your kind deeds before men, in order to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in the heavens. So right here, verse 1 starts with doing things to be seen by men, i.e. pleasing. Verse 2, thus when you do a kind deed, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the congregations and in the streets to be praised by men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do a kind deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So what it's saying right here, don't let anyone know what you're doing. Your left hand should know what your right hand is doing. If you're doing a good deed, it should be done not for a public show, to impress or to let the world know you have done X, Y, or Z. But it should be done anonymously, which is better. So verse 4, so that your kind deed shall be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. Verse 5, and when you pray, you shall not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the congregations and on the corners of the streets to be seen by men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you pray, go into your room, and having shut your door, pray to your Father who sees in the secret place, and your Father who sees in the secret shall reward you openly. Verse 7, and when praying, do not keep on babbling like the nations or like the Gentiles, long words, long empty words, for they think they shall be heard for their many words. Therefore, do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. This, then, is the way you should pray. Our Father, who is in the heavens, let your name be set apart. Let your kingdom come. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in heaven. So let's stop right there. He said, when you pray, you said, our Father who art in heaven, let your name be Kodesh, set apart. As I mentioned earlier in the two Psalms we just read, his name is set apart. Your kingdom come. Where's this kingdom coming? Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So we should be praying for the kingdom of Yahuwah to come and his will be done on earth. This is what the Mashiach, the Messiah, is instructing his taught ones. This is how you should pray. You should always be praying for the kingdom of Yahuwah to come. This is a direct command right here. He said, give us today our daily bread and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And do not lead us into trial, but deliver us from the wicked one. Because yours is the kingdom and the power and the esteem forever. Amen. Verse 14. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father shall also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither shall your Father forgive your trespasses. So you see, you can't hold unforgiveness. Very important that it goes against you, not for you. And it's very easy to be unforgiving. But if you're a believer in a Messiah, in the Creator, you cannot hold people indefinitely in an unforgiving state. Let's continue. Verse 16. And when you fast, important one right here, do not be sad-faced like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces so that they appear to be fasting to men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that you do not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father who sees in secret shall reward you openly. Verse 19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart shall be also. Now, people spend a lot of their time trying to accumulate what the world has. And nothing is wrong with having things, like I said last week. But when thing has you, that's a whole different story. So the Messiah is saying, don't lay up your treasures. Don't value anything here on this earth, because everything here is temporal. It's passing. There's nothing that we have here that we can take with us where we are going. So keep that in mind. Doesn't matter how much billionaires they have around the world, they take nothing with them when they leave. And where they're going, most of them don't even believe in a creator. So, but in the end, everyone will believe eventually. At that point, for most, it will be too late. Verse 22. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore the eye is good, all your body shall be enlightened. But if your eye is evil, all your body shall be darkened. If then the light that is within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one is able to serve two masters. Very important right here. Because of this, I say to you, do not worry. Okay. Let me go up further. It says, no one is able to serve two masters. Either you shall love, he shall hate, one and love the other, or else he shall cleave to one and despise the other. You are not able to serve Elohim and Mammon, or wealth. Because of this I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat or drink, or about your body, what you shall put on. Is not life more than the food, and the body more than the clothing? So he's saying here, isn't life more than food? The life that we have, isn't more than food? and the body more than clothing. Look at the birds of the heaven, for they neither sow, nor reap, nor gather into storehouses, yet your heavenly Father does feed them. Are you not worth more than they? And which of you by worrying is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? That's a question. So why do you worry about clothing? Note well the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And I say to you that even Solomon in all his esteem was not dressed like one of these. But if Elohim so clothes the grass of the field, which exists today and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, how much more you, O you of little belief? Do not worry then, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For all these the Gentiles seek. For all these the Gentiles seek for, and your heavenly Father knows that you need all these. But seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these shall be added to you. It goes on to say in verse 34, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow shall have its own worries. Each day has enough evil of itself. So right there, these are some words that we should live by and understand. As a believer in the Creator, the Messiah is giving specific instructions on how we should view the world and not the other way around. Have the world view. So let's look at chapter 7. It says, do not judge, lest you be judged. For with that judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with the same measure you use, it shall be measured to you. And why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not notice the plank in your own eye? So what's saying here? Why are you looking for the small fault in your brother while there's something bigger in your own eye? This is just a metaphor, but he's saying, why are you looking at someone or judging someone when you have a more severe problem than the person who you are judging? Or how is it that you say to your brother, let me remove the splinter out of your eye, and see, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you shall see clearly to remove the splinter out of your brother's eye. So it's saying work on your own sin or your own fault first before you address or correct someone. So you can't correct someone if you are uncorrected yourself, if you have a worse issue than the person you're trying to correct. Verse 6, do not give what is set apart to dogs, nor throw your pearls before the pigs, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. So what is he speaking about here? Do not give what is holy to dogs. Obviously, he's not speaking about the literal dogs. This is actually speaking about the other nations. Let me show you. Israelites, according to the Torah, was not supposed to, by the Torah, be in company with the other nations. Let's read chapter 10 so you could have a context into what, when the Messiah says, do not give what is set apart or holy to dogs and pigs. In the book of Acts chapter 10, it says, now there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a captain of what was called the Italian regiment or the Italian band, dedicated and fearing Elohim with all his household. So what it's saying here, he was an Italian and he was in the army. Let's continue. Dedicated and fearing Elohim with all his household, doing many kind deeds to the people and praying to Elohim always. So he's praying to the Most High, the Elohim of the Israelites. So let's go further. He clearly saw in a vision about the 9th hour of the day a messenger of Elohim coming to him and saying to him, Cornelius. And looking intently at him and becoming afraid, he said, What is it, Master? And he said to him, Your prayers and your kind deeds have come up for a remembrance before Elohim. So we're going to see that Cornelius was not an Israelite. How do we know this? Let's continue reading. And now send me to Yaffo and send for Shimon, who is also called Kepha. He is staying with Shimon, a leather tanner, whose house is by the sea. And when the messenger who spoke to him went away, Cornelius called 2 of his household servants and a dedicated soldier from among those who waited on him continually. And having explained to them all, he sent them to Yaffo. And on the next day, as they were on their way and approaching the city, Kepha went up to the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became hungry and wished to eat. And while he was preparing, he fell into a trance. Pay attention to this part. And he saw the heavens opened, and a certain vessel, like a great sheet, bound at the 4 corners, descending to him and let down to the earth, in which there was all kinds of 4-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping creatures, and birds of the heavens. And the voice came to him, Rise up, Kepha, slay and eat. But Kepha said, Not at all, Master, because I have never eaten whatever is common or unclean. Remember, he's in a trance, and he's seen these unclean animals. And the voice came to him again, a second time, What Elohim has cleansed, you do not consider common. And this took place 3 times, and the vessel was taken back up to heaven. And when Kepha was doubting within himself about the vision, what the vision might mean, look, the men who had been sent from Cornelius, having asked of the house of Shimon, stood at the gate. And calling out, they inquired whether Shimon, also known as Kepha, was staying in there. So we have Gentiles going on to Kepha. You might have Peter in your book. So they were considered to the Israelites as unclean. They were not a part of the house of Yasharel or Judah. This is an other nation. So we've seen right here Cornelius, the Most High saw his giving, his good deeds, and his fear of Elohim, the Most High, as a Gentile, sent an angel to give him insight into going to meet an Israelite, to learn from Kepha, or who you would call Peter. So we see right here where the unclean people that were considered not worthy, because Yahusha did not come to all the nations. He came to the house of Judah and the house of Yasharel. So right here, the Gentiles, the other nations, were considered unclean. So when we look at this verse right here, when it says, do not give what is holy to dogs. Even Yahusha called the Samaritan woman. He told her when she prayed and she asked to heal her daughter, he said it's not good to give the children's bread, or himself, because he's the bread of life. He said it's not good to give the children's bread to dogs. And she said, true, Master, but even the dogs eat the crumbs from the master's table. And he said, I have not seen faith like this, not even in all of Yasharel. So we saw an example again where a foreigner was coming to the Messiah, the Mashiach, for healing. Yahusha refers to himself as the bread. He said it's not good to give the children's bread. Who's the children he's referring to? children of Yasharel or children of Israel, because he did not come for the whole world at that point. His mission was very clear, to redeem the house of Yasharel and the house of Judah, the 12 tribes. So let's continue. So verse 7. It says, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened to you. For everyone who asks, receives, and he who seeks, finds, and to him who knocks, it shall be open. Or is there a man among you, whom if his son asks for bread, he shall give him stone? Or if he asks for a fish, he shall give him a snake? Is there any man among you that will do such thing? If you then, being wicked, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father, who is in the heavens, give what is good to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, do also to them. For this is the Torah and the prophets. Let me read that part again. Therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, also do to them. For this is the Torah and the prophets, or the law and the prophets. Verse 13, very important. I want you to pay attention to this. He says, enter through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter in through it. But because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life, and there are few who find it. Very important what the Messiah is saying here, and most people don't understand what is being said here. He's saying here that the way to the kingdom, it's very narrow. It is not broad. However, there's other path that most people take. It's the easy path. It's the path of least resistance. For instance, there's 2.5 billion people worldwide. You're familiar with this name here. The thing is, the Messiah says, I come in my Father's name. But you can't find the Father's name in this name here. Keep in mind, in the 1st century, 2nd century after the Mashiach, after the apostles, the 3rd century, this name was nowhere found. The 5th, the 9th, the 10th, this name appeared in the mid 14th centuries, around 1539. Transliteration, or a Greek concept, which is called interpretatio gracia, right here. See that? Let me tell you what that means. So in ancient Greece, let me read it real quick for you. What the Greeks did, through a process called interpretatio gracia, which helped the Greeks to understand and compare cultures, religions. This practice involved finding similarities between foreign gods and the Greek deities, because they had many, making their names mutually translatable and creating a shared understanding of divine figures across cultures. So the Greeks would place whatever god they had wherever they conquered, whatever tribe they conquered, whatever nation they conquered, they'll try to find a similar god what they had and blend it in. And this is the nature or the practice of ancient Greeks, which is today. Because here I have, right here, when the Messiah says, I come in my Father's name. The Father's name right up here. See the Yod, the He, and the Vav. You see it right here in the Son's name as well. The Yod, the He, and the Vav. Yah's salvation, that's what the Messiah's name means. Hope you can see that. So don't confuse Christianity with the faith that the Israelites founded this belief on. Because many false teachings hide behind this title right here. And many people are attached to this title, which has nothing to do with the Creator's name. So I just wanted to be aware of that. So let's continue reading. So the way is very broad and it's very easy to be on that way because that's what the majority of people are. And it's going to lead the masses to destruction, unfortunately. But he says, verse 14, because the gate is narrow, number one, and the way is hard pressed. The way. Notice we see that word again. The way is hard pressed. Which leads to life, and there be few. Again, the word is few who find it. But beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are savage wolves. By their fruits you shall know them. Here's what he says. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? No, you don't find grapes in thorn bush. Never find grapes. So every good tree yields good fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit. Pay attention to verse 18. He says, a good tree is unable, it's not possible for a good tree to bear wicked fruit. It's impossible. So he's likening false teachers to a tree. So you have to be discerning to see what type of fruit, their words, their life, what type of individual. And there's a litany of people that have a belief in this title right here, but their life does not add up what we are reading about here. So they're serving someone different. So he says, by their fruit you shall know them. Not by what they say, but their life will show you. Okay. So he says here, a good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, by their fruits you shall know them. Verse 21, very important. He says, not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the kingdom of the heavens, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. So we live in a world with a lot of religion, a lot of belief in, as they say, but lawless. Let me give you an example. Right here. If you take a look at this chart right here, you're going to see something. Now, out of the three Abrahamic faiths, if you look at Islam, there's certain things that they eat and things that they do not eat. If you look at Judaism, same thing as well. There's certain things that they eat and things that they do not eat. Christianity is the only religion that declares that, you can eat anything. Yet the Creator created in the beginning, from the time of Noah, he created clean and unclean animals. Why? Because unclean animals, they carry parasites. They are host parasites. And when you eat these unclean animals and it gets into your system, those parasites live within you. So here's the funny part with Christianity and Christians primarily, because I was speaking to a buddy of mine a couple of weeks ago, and he keeps quoting a scripture. And we're going to get to that scripture because it's in this book as well, in the book of Mattityahu. Talks about whatever you eat goes out in the drought. But you got to read the context in the beginning, what they were speaking about. Because again, this is a Hebrew faith, and they had specific laws that they adhered to, especially when it came to food. There was not like the other nations eating everything. So you'd find today, you'll find other nations that on this list right here, the unclean list down at the bottom, they eat everything. It's a delicacy for them. Other nations that does not know Yah. But the Israelites were required to eat things that were clean. It's for their health purposes. But here's the funny part. You will never see this bird in a supermarket or on your dinner plate, for the obvious reason. Everyone knows this bird. You know what it does, you know what it eats. But yet, according to the Christian belief, you can eat anything. But yet you don't see this on your table. I wonder why. Again, context is everything. Okay, so let's continue. Verse 24. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them shall be like a wise man who built his house on a rock. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them shall be like a foolish man who built his house on sand. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. And it came to be, when Yahusha had ended these words, that the people were astonished at his teaching. For he was teaching them as one possessing authority, and not as the scribes. So right here, these words that we read, it's very important that we understand what he's saying and who is he speaking to in this point right here. He's not speaking to the whole world, speaking exclusively to a narrow group of people. So he's telling his disciples here that there's a narrow path, pay attention to it, and you have to find it and stay on it, because there's a broad path that the majority would be on that would lead to destruction. And it's very easy to be on that broad path. So one thing I must add here is that when you have a belief that everyone has, and the majority, especially people in the world that have, and you have that same belief, more than likely you're on a broad path. Yeah, that's how you know. If you have a belief that the world holds, most likely you're on a broad path. Chapter 8, last chapter. And when he came down from the mountain, large crowds followed him. And see, a leper came and bowed before him, saying, Master, if you desire, you are able to make me clean. So a leper was someone who had a skin discoloration. The skin would be whitened. They would either have it blotched all over, or the whole body would be whitened, something like an albino. This was a skin discoloration disease. You were considered unclean and you could not be among the people. You would be an outcast. So he says, and stretching his hand, Yahusha touched him, saying, I desire it. Be cleansed. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Yahusha said to him, see, mention it to no one, but go your way, show yourselves to the priests, and offer the gift that Moshe commanded as a witness to them. So right here we're seeing what the Messiah is telling him to do. He said, go to the priests. So obviously the priests for Israel would be the Levites. So he was going to a priest and offer a gift according to what? The law of Moses. Verse 5, and when Yahusha had entered Nahum, a captain came to him, appealing to him, saying, Master, my servant is lying in the house paralyzed, grievously tortured. And Yahusha said to him, I shall come and heal him. And the captain answering said, Master, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only say a word, and my servant shall be healed. For I too am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. And when Yahusha heard, he marveled and said to those who followed, truly, I say to you, not even in Yasharel have I found such great belief. Now we're saying right here, he's not speaking to an Israelite. How do we know that? Because he's saying, I have not seen in even my own countrymen this type of faith. So obviously this man had to be a Gentile. He was a captain, just like I just read in Acts chapter 10, like Cornelius, a Gentile. Because the Yahudim, they were occupied by Romans at this point in history. So he's saying right here, Yahusha is saying that he have not seen any faith like this, any belief. Not even in his own countrymen, But look what he says here, verse 11. And I say to you that many shall come from east and west and sit down with Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov in the kingdom of the heavens. But the sons of the kingdom shall be cast out into utter darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So Messiah is saying that the Israelites, many would reject him, and other nations will accept him. Just like this, we see this example right here. He's saying the sons of the kingdom, who Yahusha came to, they would reject him and they will be cast out. Verse 13, and Yahusha said to the captain, go, and as you believed, so let it be done for you. And his servants was healed that hour. And when Yahusha had come into the house of Kapha, he saw his wife's mother laying sick with inflammation. And he touched her hand, and inflammation left her. And she arose and served him. And when evening had come, they brought to him many who were demon-possessed. And he cast out the spirits with a word and healed all who were sick, that it might be fulfilled as was spoken by the prophet Yeshayahu, saying, he himself took our weaknesses and bore our sickness. That's Yeshayahu chapter 53 verses 4. So that's the prophet. And when Yahusha saw large crowds about him, he gave a command to go off to the other side. And a certain scribe, having come near, said to him, Teacher, I shall follow you wherever you go. And Yahusha said to him, the foxes have holes and the birds of the heavens nest, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. And another of his taught ones said to him, Master, first let me go and bury my father. But Yahusha said to him, follow me and leave the dead to bury their own dead. So right there, the Messiah is talking about people who are actually alive but spiritually dead, bury their physically dead. So this is how the world are. There are people that are spiritually dead, not knowing that there's a judgment that is due them, and unlearned in what life really is about. So here he's speaking to a man who says he want to bury his father. He said, let me go bury my dad first and come back. He said, let the dead, that's the spiritually dead, bury your dad who is dead physically now at this point. Verse 23. And when he entered into a boat, his taught ones followed him. And see, a great gale arose on the sea, so that the boat was covered by the waves, but he was sleeping. And his taught ones came to him and woke him up, saying, Master, save us, we are perishing. And he said to them, why are you afraid, O you of little belief? Then, having risen, he rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. And the men marveled, saying, what is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him? And when he came to the other side, to the country of the Girgashites, 2 demon-possessed ones met him, coming out of the tombs very fierce, so that no one was able to pass that way. And seeing, they cried out, saying, what have we to do with you, Yahusha, son of Elohim? Have you come here to torture us before the appointed time? Now listen to that statement. They're asking the Messiah. They recognize who he was. He's the same one that they know is the son of Elohim. And at a distance from them, there was a herd of many pigs feeding. And the demons begged him, saying, if you cast us out, send us into the herd of pigs. And he said to them, go. And they coming out went into the herd of pigs, and see, the entire herd of pigs rushed down the steep place into the sea and died in the water. And the herdsmen fled and went away in the city and reported all this about those possessed by demons. And see, all the city came out to meet Yahusha, and when they saw him, they begged him to leave their borders. So let's go back to verses 29, where the demons said, have you come to torture us before the time? What do they mean? So let's look at the book of Revelation chapter 12. This is one of the least read books in mainstream Christianity. You don't read this book at all. This is somehow off limits. So let's read it. Here's what it says. Chapter 12, verse 9, and it says, and the great dragon was thrown out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who leads all the world astray. He was thrown to the earth, and his messengers were thrown out with him. So the devil was cast out, the one who leads all the world astray. Or some translation says, who deceives the whole world. I want to keep that in mind. So let's look at chapter 20. And I saw a messenger coming down from heaven, having the key to the pit of the depth and a great chain in his hand. And he seized the dragon, the serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And he threw him into the pit of the deep, and shut him up, and set a seal on him, so that he should lead the nations no more astray. So let me tell you this. This has not happened yet. So there's things that you believe, that you think is true, but is not. The reason why this particular book is not read in mainstream Christianity, if you ask anyone, and I asked someone recently who goes to a Christian denomination church, I said, does your pastor ever read the book of Revelation since you've been a member there? He told me no. This particular book is not read at all. They may take a couple of verses to make a sermon, but the book in its entirety and give context into the world that we live in, it's not read. So people don't know what's to come. So, notice what it says. When Satan is shut up, he cannot deceive the world anymore. So because this hasn't happened yet, we know 99% of what you actually hear, especially in the mainstream, is in error, in a lot of falsehood. This is why Christianity is the largest religion in the world. You would not find the word Christianity in the scriptures. But everyone is a Christian. Let's take a look again. So we're in verses 3. And he threw him in a pit of the deep and shut him up and set a seal on him so that he should lead the nations no more astray until 1,000 years were ended. And after that he was to be released for a little while. And I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And the lives of those who had been beheaded because of the witness they bore to Yahusha, and because of the word of Elohim, and who did not worship the beast nor his image, and did not receive his mark upon their foreheads or upon their hands. And they lived and reigned with Messiah for 1,000 years. And the rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and set apart is the one having part in the first resurrection. The second death possesses no authority over these, but they shall be priests of Elohim and of Messiah, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years have ended, Satan shall be released from his prison, and he shall go and lead the nations astray. So you see, as he gets out, he's doing his thing. So know right now that he's doing his deceiving currently. And he shall go out and lead the nations astray, which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog. These are the Gentile nations, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for battle, whose number is as the sand of the sea. And they came up over the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the set-apart ones and the beloved city. And fire came down from Elohim out of heaven and consumed them. And the devil who led them astray, we see that word again, who led them, who led this astray? The world, the nations astray, was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they shall be tortured day and night forever and ever. So here it is again. It says he's leading mankind astray in rebellion against the Most High. And his portion, he will be tortured just like the demons knew when Yahusha came, that there's a time coming for them to be judged. So let's go back to Matthew. Okay, so Matthew, we just ended verses 34, and it says, when the Messiah came to the city, they saw that these herdsmen saw what he did with their wild animals, their pigs, that he sent the demons in them, and they drowned in the ocean. So right there, we're going to pause for tonight. I want to thank you for joining me here, those of you who are live. Again, this was Real Bible Study. This will also be going to YouTube, which is at Real Bible Study again. And like, share, and comment if you can. If you have any particular questions on the scriptures that we're reading here, feel free to reach out to me. So with that said, we'll meet again tomorrow, and Shabbat Shalom, Elohim willing.